Quite a day already. Our NewsNation Now coverage continues from here in New York. I'm Connell McShane. President Trump releasing this 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza. Then he appeared alongside the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. Trump says the decision to accept the plan now is in the hands of Hamas. If Hamas rejects the proposal, Israel has America's backing to, quote-unquote, destroy them. Daily Take Time with Geraldo Rivera joins us as he does at this time each day. Good to see you, my friend.
Hey, Connell.
I've been talking since we came on the air an hour ago with a handful of skeptics. Everybody, after watching that we've had on at least, is relatively skeptical that this is going to actually lead to peace. What about yourself after watching Trump and Netanyahu at the White House? How do you feel?
Well, my long experience in the region leads me to the principle that pessimists always win in the Middle East, that regardless of how good something sounds, it always goes to crap in the ultimately anyway. It started a ball of fire today, Connell. There they were, Bibi Netanyahu apologizing to Qatar for launching that deadly attack, that strike, the missile strike, attempting to kill off the leadership of Hamas. That was a great sign. Then the president said that this is going to be the biggest day for peace in the history of the television era. And then you mentioned the Muslim world was all rallied behind. There was Pakistan and Turkey and Indonesia and Egypt. They were all very enthusiastic about this new plan. And then they slipped in the if. What's the if? The if is if Hamas agrees. Right. If Hamas agrees is a giant step, and I don't know how that is possible. I don't know how that plays out. I know they offered free passage. They could leave, presumably, as part of the deal, they could leave Gaza and go live happily ever after, except, Israel has shown with its strikes overseas that that distance is no object to retaliation or revenge to those who have killed Israelis. And, I wouldn't, Hamas would sleep with one eye open, regardless of what country they were in. Right. So as a plan, I think, needs a lot of work. If Hamas were to suddenly say, okay, we're in it, to leave Gaza behind, I'd be shocked and delighted. I wish that were the case. It is not. It is not, however.
So if not this, then what? I mean, is there anything else someone could come up with that Hamas actually would agree to? I mean, some people would look at it and say, well, why wouldn't they agree? They would be wiped off the face of the earth if they don't. But as Aaron David Miller pointed out a few moments ago, been going for the last few years with Israel trying to do that, and they haven't completely done it. So it's hard to get rid of the idea even behind Hamas. But, how do you see it actually playing out from here?
Oh, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. I'd like to see Egypt step up to the plate. Egypt is a superpower in the Arab world. They border Gaza as Israel does. Al-Sisi is an ally, presumably, of the United States. If Egypt were to accept more Gazans, if the Palestinian Authority recognized that they had work to do in terms of reformulating their organization and stated their vow to try to work hard to take over Gaza governance, maybe that would work. I just don't know. So much bad blood has been shed. I think that the one thing Hamas can do is, as good faith, release the living hostages or send back the dead ones that President Trump, very heartfelt, always reminds us the parents want back. Release the deceased hostages now. Hamas could do that, surely, and that would be a giant step, it would seem to me. And then if they were to do that, then Israel could do a goodwill gesture of withdrawing certain brigades. Now they have 70% of Gaza, going down to 35% of Gaza. If there was a real pragmatic, I love lofty language. I love Gaza Riviera and all that kind of stuff. It's wonderful to dream about, but I'm 82 years old and dreaming about it, since I was a kid reporter, 27 years old. So, I just put things in context. the reach of history is long, but it presumably or hopefully has some wisdom to it. So I have to be less enthusiastic than I would love to be.
Makes sense. I mean, what do you think of Trump's plan on the merits? This board of peace, he'd be the chairman, Tony Blair involved, the stages. On the tablet, I think we have a little picture that shows it a little bit in terms of how they would go. What this really means, zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see, is the different lines over time, there would be phased withdrawals, back, blue, yellow, red, until you're out of Gaza. What did you make of the plan on the merits? You know, is it the best deal Hamas is going to get?
That may very well be, but that doesn't seem logic and reason and humanity don't seem to be the governing forces in that region. Instead, it's hatred and revenge, endless cycle. This was 3 years now on this phase of the never-ending war in the unholy land. I think that what I would do. Here's what I would do, and I'm kind of thinking on the fly here. I would offer some kind of demilitarized zone within Gaza. Say, okay, Hamas, give us half of Gaza, and then have Israeli volunteer, medical and so forth and so on, go in and mix with the other Arab groups, and try to patch up the leaking blood there, give us some step, some concrete step, some overt proof that you mean what you say and that you're not just, stroking us. I think that you need words don't matter. I love Tony Blair. It reminds me when I was the lawyer for the Young Lords 50 years ago. And they took over a bunch of buildings, and we negotiated with the city administration. It was a very august body that they appointed to negotiate with the militants that I was representing. And there was a disconnect between the board, Tony Blair, great former prime minister, and President Trump, chairman of the board, great. But who's going to do the nitty-gritty work? Who's going to talk to whom? Who's going to, there's a million details. There's a lot of show here. And I know the president is great at show. Now you have to back it. Now I know he says he's made peace and he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, and I'm endorsing that 100% and 1,000% if he can pull this off.
Oh, if he can pull it off.
I'm in all
big if right now with all this going on. Hey, you want to give us a quick comment? Since I don't know if we'll solve peace in the Middle East, you want to weigh in on the New York City mayor's race now that Adams is out, and it's like Mamdani versus Cuomo with our old friend Curtis kind of playing spoiler in the whole thing. Got some of the polling here if you guys want to show it on the tablet, but in the meantime, what do you think?
I love Curtis, as you know, our former colleague, a great friend of mine. The withdrawal of the mayor, I know, wasn't easy for Eric Adams to withdraw. Now it's Cuomo, Mamdani. Mamdani's still the overwhelming favorite. But I want to urge New Yorkers listening to my voice. I was born in New York. I was basically brought up. Most of my life has been spent in New York. 2 of my children still live in New York City. It's a $100 billion budget. This guy's never run a coffee shop. There's tens of thousands of city employees. He's never negotiated a contract. He wanted to defund the police. This is a recipe. He wants to tax the rich. Tax the rich, you know what's going to happen? They're going to go back to Connecticut. They're going to go to Florida. They go to the Carolinas. They're going to flee. They're going to erode the tax base of New York. There is only one candidate to vote for in the mayor's race this time around. It is the former governor of New York State, Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo has the experience. He got run out of office. He got Me Too'd with never a proven allegation against him, never an arrest or a successful lawsuit against Cuomo. You may not like him for whatever reason, for whatever reason, but there's no doubt he ran a competent state government, and he will run a competent city government. And I think that New Yorkers should embrace this option for their future. This is a prudent, reasonable, normal, ordinary choice for mayor. This is the guy that can keep New York going. Otherwise, you're going to have Dinkins again. You're going to have de Blasio again. You're going to have ineffective Democrats again. We need the good Democrat, Koch or Giuliani or Bloomberg. We don't need a kid who first should run a school or something before he seeks to run the city of New York, the center of the universe, the capital of the world. You need someone with a little more
Speaking
experience.
of, to put that all together, when I worked with Bloomberg at Bloomberg Radio, Ed Koch used to do a radio show there, and he would fall asleep in the studio, and I would always wake him up, and first thing every day I would say, "Mr. Mayor, how am I doing?" You know, and he would every time. He was well, you get it, Geraldo. You got to be there. You had to be here.
You're doing great, brother.
Right.
You're doing
great.
great.
How am I doing? He used to say, Ed Koch. All right. Thank you, Geraldo. You're the best. All right.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.